Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and do so many mighty works in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. I always like when Jesus gets testy. So this passage is about a prescription for successful living. You want to live a good life, a purpose-filled life, a peaceful life, a life filled with grace, on point, on purpose, taking things in stride, in acceptance, then it is this section on the Sermon on the Mount that you want to pay particular attention to, dissect, and live it. That's it. And that's exactly what we're going to try to do here this morning. So let's go. In verse 21, the Master Teacher says, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. So it's test time. Ready? 3 metaphysical questions for you, my dear truth students, this morning. We're going to take these as a group.
Thank you.
Question number 1. Who has the potential to enter into the kingdom of heaven? Look at her. See that? Quick bang bang. Everyone, anyone at all has the potential to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Is heaven a place we enter into only after we die? No. But mother like daughter. She says no, and that is the correct answer. The answer is no. So then, where exactly is heaven located? In our hearts. Who said that? You? No, I can't do that. Get a little purple hair, you get slick. Yeah, in our hearts. All over, but certainly within each of us, right? Heaven is a function of the state of mind. Heaven is a state of mind. That's what heaven is. Okay, nice job. You'll be graded. Results on the way up. Jesus says in this verse that we only enter the kingdom of heaven if we do the will of God. It sounds about right. No one's going to argue with it. But now we must discover what the will of God is. So I ask you, what is the will of God? Is it some predestined plan? Some people believe that. Do we get it by seeking something outside of ourselves? Some outside entity comes to us and drops a big playbook on our desk and says, go execute. Wouldn't that just take all the responsibility away from us? Some of us love that. How do we mostly hear about God's will? Oh, it's God's will. Someone died, someone had something. Oh, that's just God's will. It's like a way to throw a blanket on stuff that happens that we don't like. Not to be confused with acceptance here. So we can look at God's will from 2 different vantage points, and we're going to do just that today, I contend. We can look at God's will generally speaking, and then we can look at God's will specific to each of us. Okay, so generally speaking, God's will is the very same for each of us. It doesn't matter who we are, where we are, it's the same. As Emily Cady, brilliant New Thought author, my favorite New Thought author, in fact, says in her book, How I Use Truth, not to be confused with Lessons in Truth, she says this: God's will is to manifest God's perfect being through us. Or, as Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder in the Revealing Word, says, to establish God's kingdom inside of us. To establish God's kingdom inside of us. Now, they sound the same, but I personally believe that Emily Cady's definition is more correct because she focuses on the manifestation piece. I'm going to make a slight modification, therefore, to Charles's definition. There is no need for us to establish the kingdom inside of us. It's already there, isn't it? That's what we learn. It's a birthright of as children of God, made in the image and the likeness, right? So to make more correct what Charles is saying, It really is first about acknowledging or remembering, because we are great forgetters, right? And then living from that vantage point, from the kingdom, from the Christ self, acting from heaven consciousness. So to the extent that we can act from a place of heaven consciousness, we are firmly situated in the kingdom of heaven and carrying out God's will. So anytime you're choosing to seek first the kingdom, you are what we call doing God's will. That's it. And so, how is it then that we seek first the kingdom of God? We get still. I mean, there's many ways to do it. This is one. We get still. We move away from our external selves, right? Our personality, coming from the word persona, meaning what? Mask. Mask is what that means, right? Our personalities are masks. How many do each of us wear? And we move towards our internal self, our true self, our Christ self, the self that does not change, that recognizes truth, capital T, wherever you go. Divine mind, Buddha nature, higher power, or any of the 1,000 names that we as a society have for God, or the divine, or the creator. So, first we become receptive to it, then we think and act from that level of consciousness, or vantage point. That is doing God's will. Okay, well great, you say, that's nice, but now make it real for us. How do we know to turn left? That's my left, my other left. Right? We've got a squeaky going on there. To take the job, to leave the job, to spend the money, to heal the hurt or the illness, to date the person, to move to a new home, to come and go. Great questions. These are questions we ask all the time, right? We all want the red phone to God. Who doesn't want the red phone to God? Now, let's get into the specific elements of doing God's will.